Ill people commit suicide. We'll have more on these stories later on the National. Now, back to Hockey Night in Canada.
After 40 minutes. Brought to you by Fiberglass Canada and Owens Corning Company.
Tonight on After 40 Minutes, will hockey referees call a strike? And Iron Mike Keenan on Iron Man Steve Larmer next.
When you're looking for the best insulation for your home, remember, not all insulation is the same. Watch out for imposters. Do it right. Do it pink. When you're looking for the best insulation for your home, remember, not all insulation is the same. Watch out for imposters. Do it right. Do it pink.
Welcome back to After 40 Minutes. As I'm sure you know by now, NHL officials are working currently without a contract. If they don't get a deal by November the 14th, they have served notice with the NHL. They'll walk off the job. To that end, the NHL is prepared to continue with games and have replacement officials at a training session this weekend in Indianapolis. I am joined by Senior Vice President and Director of Hockey Operations, Brian Burke, in Indianapolis, and the man representing the Officials Association, lawyer Don Meehan, here in Toronto. Brian, what's taking place in Indianapolis this weekend?
We're holding a training camp for officials that are going to work in the event of a work stoppage in the National Hockey League.
How many have you and how qualified are they?
The exact number of officials who have committed to work in the event of a work stoppage is well in excess of 60, and I think they are very qualified.
Don, the concern you must have is they are qualified. Many of these amateur officials chose to go that route because the NHL doesn't pay enough money. Let's talk about the salary because I believe that's the stickling point. Correct me if any of this is wrong, either of you. I understand, Don, in the last meetings this week, you've offered a 60% raise is what you're seeking. The NHL counters with 15. Is that the crux of how far you're apart and where the problem lies?
Ronnie, that's accurate. We've, in our recent submissions, have given the league consideration for a 60% increase, and that's an increase on an old deal which we deem to be certainly out of place and certainly not competitive in any respect and hasn't been over the last few years in relation to other sports. So this is the first time in a long time that the officials really are taking a strong and positive position concerning their own welfare.
Brian, why do you think 60% is unacceptable, and why do you think 15 is?
We've offered a package that over the 4 years of the offer increases the salary and benefits and cost of the National Hockey League by well in excess of 60%. I don't know any industry in North America right now that's giving a 60% year one increase.
That's the point. Most people won't give a lot of sympathy to the referees when they see that figure bandied about, but let's say we bring it in line with what NBA and Major League Baseball officials get. Right now you're below the NBA, Brian. If this deal was even to get close, it's an old deal that the NBA currently has, and as I said to Don, a concern I have is that many referees turn away from the business because it takes until you're around 30 to get into the NHL, and nobody can wait that long, and when they do, it isn't worth it getting there with the starting salary for an official at $55,000.
Well, first of all, we feel our offer is competitive on salary terms with Major League Baseball and basketball. The average entry age into Major League Baseball officiating and the average entry age into the National Basketball Association, on our information, is over 30 also. These guys just don't come out of the woodwork. They also serve an apprenticeship. So we feel we're competitive with the other sports despite the fact that their revenues are triple and quadruple our revenues.
Yeah, okay, Don, first pick up on the point. Is it competitive with the NBA right now?
Well, Ronnie, we're dealing with two other sports, baseball and basketball, that are in the in baseball, they're in the third year of a 4-year agreement, and in basketball, they're in the second year of a third-year deal. We want to be in a position not to negotiate in the past. We want to be in a position to negotiate for the future. I think that only fair. We've been behind the other sports for a long period of time, and for the first time, as I've indicated before, we want to be in a position to have these officials get a fair share. We hope that by adopting some progressive proposals with the league, that the league might finally recognize these people as being a very important part of the game.
And they're surely different. I'm just sorry to interrupt. We don't have a lot of time, Don. They're different from NBA in that they have to skate, they have to break up fights. But Brian, Gary Bettman, when he took over, said a big concern of his was getting the fans to stop worrying about the business of hockey and about wondering about the game and whether it's being done properly. Here we are in his first full year of administration, and you've got the chance that the focus is taken away from the Ducks and the Panthers and their great start, Gretzky on the scoring lead, teams like Philadelphia, Toronto emerging, and we're talking about the referees. So everything he said he didn't want, we have because of this impasse. Don't you think it'd be worth it to try and get it together?
We feel we are trying to get it together. The implication in your question, Ron, is that we have not made a fair offer. We're not defensive about our offer. We've offered to make these gentlemen who do an excellent job paid on a par with the other comparable sports, despite the fact, again, that they are initiating a work stoppage if it occurs, and despite the fact that our revenues do not even approach theirs.
Right, and you're right, I am insinuating that to a degree because I think it's tougher to be a referee in this sport than I do in basketball or baseball. You don't concur with that?
I think the one skill that's required, that they have to be able to skate, and there's no question that their careers are somewhat shorter because of that. We have taken that into account. We're not defensive at all about our offer. We feel it's fair. We feel these gentlemen are an important part of the game, and we feel our offer indicates that respect. We have tremendous respect for this group of people.
I know you're optimistic, Brian. Don, I know you've said you're not. Do you have enough solidarity and enough money to be able to stay on strike if you do go out a week Monday?
I think we do, Brian. The people that I represent are firm and determined. I think there's total solidarity. They realize that they have to be firm in relation to this position. I think they are. I think they're positive. Certainly in relation to a comparison of resources, we're nowhere near as powerful as the National Hockey League, but I think these are good people, and essentially they're determined.
Brian, compliments on your work on suspensions and all that you've done so far. Good luck with your meetings Tuesday, fellows, on this particular issue.
Well, we all hope to get a deal done, Ron. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron.
What kind of officiating will we see? The timing of the strike? That and many more questions as we continue to cover this story next weekend. Well, the New York Rangers won this afternoon at Le Colisée 4-2. Mike Keenan joins me now from Quebec City. Mike, you're unbeaten in 6. Congratulations. Tell me about the game today and specifically your big addition, Steve Larmer. How'd he do?
Well, Steve has been a big addition to our hockey club. He adds a lot of composure. Ronnie, as you know, he's a quality person and a great hockey player. And our team has been establishing themselves defensively, particularly with the play of Mike Richter has improved drastically, and as a result, we've ended up playing successfully both at home and on the road because of our goals against being reduced.
Mike, I don't know if he was kidding me this summer, but when Steve knew he wasn't going back to Chicago, he seemed to say to me, New York is a place he wouldn't go to live or to play. What did you or Neil do to talk him into New York City?
Well, first of all, he had a misconception of the environment there. He was talking about Manhattan as opposed to Rye, New York, or Greenwich, Connecticut, some of the areas that the players and the coaching staff live in. It's a lot more conducive to Steve Larmer's lifestyle, very country-like, and we only have to go in if he, indeed, only wants to go in for the games on game day. Other than that, I think that's all the reference Steve was making as far as not playing in New York.
Yeah, he obviously loves it. Karpatsov may have made Patrick expendable. You're so deep on the blue line, and now, great news, Jeff Bukaboom was back today. How did he play, and how welcome was he?
Well, Jeff is a big part of our picture in terms of bringing a physical presence to the hockey club, and at the same time, he's going to add a lot to the dimension of the team in terms of steadying our defense, having a little bit more experience with Karpatsov and Zubov playing. It's two youngsters, and Jeff will bring the experience we need to the right side.
Didn't take you long to get him going in New York, Mike. Good luck Monday against Tampa.
Thanks very much, Ronnie.
Rangers 4-2 winners this afternoon. And a final note before we go concerning the Oilers' future in Edmonton. Peter Pocklington filed papers with the NHL on Tuesday seeking a transfer of the franchise for the 94-95 season to Minneapolis. He's hoping to take the team to the Target Center in Minnie if he doesn't get a matching offer from Edmonton Northlands. Now, people who want the team to stay in Edmonton are banking on the NHL bylaws. There's a set of criteria set out as guidelines. Peter would have to satisfy things such as, has there been fan loyalty? Did he try to find a a buyer who'd keep the team in Edmonton. He hasn't satisfied all of the criteria, but the key word is guidelines, and that may not mean it's binding at all. In any event, the governors will vote on his proposition December the 9th and 10th at their meetings in Laguna Beach, California. Northlands will have the right to match the offer. Their last attempt was made September the 15th. They called their effort innovative. Peter called it outrageous and said board members must be close to being brain dead. Hasn't been a great story there. We'll follow that one too as we move along. If you have some thoughts, please write to us at Fans Notes after 40 minutes, P.O. Box 758, Postal Station F, Toronto, M4Y2N6 is the zip code, or you can fax us at 1-416-922-8970.
After 40 minutes. Brought to you by Fiberglass Canada and Owens Corning Company.